It's the end of the day with Ray. Hello, my friends. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you look on that gigantic, sharp, interactive board, you'll see a bunch of money, a couple of questions, and a thought. The first question, who pays when the charity ends? We got some organizations out there that basically been on welfare, right? You know, the BDC lenders don't make them pay their bills. They write off mass amounts of their debt. At the end of the day, something's got to change. What happens when the charity ends? What happens to the people that work at the organization? What happens to the end users of that organization? Another question I'm asking is, who pays when things change hands? We've seen some acquisitions in our industry. Let's just say they haven't been harmonious, right? Who pays when that happens? Now, here's the thought. Things are temporarily great when those who participate in your fantasy think like you. That is, until they change their mind without telling you. Folks, I put together some logos. You can see them here on the gigantic, sharp, interactive board. Above those logos, it says, ignoring things don't change outcomes. There's a lot of logos up there, right? There's a lot of things going on in our industry that are being ignored. And folks, I got to tell you, ignoring things doesn't change outcomes. It just makes you unprepared when the outcome slaps you upside the head. And our industry just can't keep ignoring things because they perceive these conversations to be negative. And if they look at things that need to be addressed that are pretty, well, let's just say critical, and their whole focus is to create some positive spin around it, it distorts reality. And at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, we need to have discussions, no matter how painful those discussions are. So I wanted to talk about some of these logos. Let's start out with Forza. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but I don't believe the industry wants to attempt floating in another failed ERP boat. Back in 2013, that press release came out. MWAI, Forza, getting together with SAP, going to be the imaging channel's ERP. They cooked up a recipe. That recipe made the industry pretty damn sick, right? Ended up being a disaster. Konica Minolta ended up getting it. They divested themselves of it. We've all lived through it. But here we are in 2025, and it seems like we're using the same recipe. What the hell are we doing? We're using the same recipe, Acumatica and DX1. You know, recently the CEO of Acumatica stood on stage, and right next to that CEO of Acumatica was the ex-CEO of MWAI, the gentleman that put together Forza with SAP, and I think that gentleman should have asked the CEO of Acumatica some tough questions. Of course, you know that's never going to happen, but you know what they should have asked him? He should have asked him this: what are you going to do different that we couldn't do? We got together with SAP, one of the richest companies in the damn world and one of the best ERP systems in the world, and we couldn't make it work. What are you going to do different? Acumatica. What's your relationship with DX1 going to be, and how different is that going to be than the relationship that we had with our investor, Grey Rock Capital, with SAP? What's different? What ingredients are you going to substitute that made our cake taste like crap and damn near killed people? What are you putting in your recipe that's going to make all this, well, go down the throat smooth of the industry? I think those would have been great questions. Let me ask you a couple of questions regarding DCA Tools. When does Predictive Insights change hands? We've seen some acquisitions happen in our industry. Well, you know, I've been predicting for a while now that Predictive Insights, and those are the folks that sell the EKM DCA tool. They also sell MPS Monitor tool. But when Valsoft buys them, which I predict they will, what's going to happen with all the EKM customers? And folks, I think this is something we should be asking. We should be finding out. What is the exit strategy for some of these organizations? It's important to know these things. At least ask the questions. You know, Predictive Insights says right on their website that they're the exclusive provider of the Direct Insights tool, which is EKM, in Americas. Well, there was another company that used to brag about having the direct distributor rights for MPS Monitor in Americas. Remember that? That company was called Obrion. Now there's lawsuits around it. We don't want to talk about this, so I have to ask all my dealers a question. Are dealers better off with the new DCA, or are just lawyers benefiting? Seriously. Let's talk about NextEra. NextEra was a fantastic company. It really was. It had a place in the industry helping dealers all over the world, actually, run better service departments. It got bought by Valsoft, got thrown up underneath the MPS Monitor flag, right? And folks, let's be honest. Does anybody believe this has been a harmonious acquisition? Shortly after they bought him, what happened? Well, most of the leaders left, right? They all left. And how many people are still that next era that were there when that thing was bought a year and a half ago? Ladies and gentlemen, there are changes that happen through acquisitions. And just pushing everything that's bad under the rug, which we want to talk about it, is not going to help prepare us for the next acquisition that might come. Let's talk about this POA thing. I put over here real coverage, the Oregonian newspaper. This is the latest headlines regarding POA. Let's start out with the whitewashed coverage from ENX Magazine. Pacific Office Automation, POA, the largest independent office equipment dealer in the U.S., announced the appointment of a new CEO. Now, here's the real coverage. Pacific Office Automation permanently replaces CEO after sexual abuse scandal. You see, we don't want to say anything like that. That would be, oh my God, that's negative. We'd rather hide the fact that the CEO, well, basically is a convicted, well, doing things with minors back in like the late 80s. Remember that? That was something he actually, pled guilty to, went on probation for 5 years for. And then all the scandals that erupted since then. A lot of benefit of the doubt going on there, right? Whitewash coverage, real coverage. And by the way, who in the industry even talked about this? And some of you might say, well, why did you need to talk about it, Ray? I needed to talk about it. Can you imagine people thinking about a career at POA? Maybe they need to have all the information, right? Can you imagine people doing business with POA? Maybe they need to have all the information. Great America pays for everything. Fun. So shut up about Great America. I think someone actually told me that one time. Ray, Great America, they pay for everything. They love to have fun. I mean, they have a whole company of people that run around and have fun with people at meetings. They pay for a lot of this stuff. Don't say anything bad about them. Ladies and gentlemen, what the hell? Great America has a master service provider platform called Collaborance. I've shared my views on that. What a disaster that was for a long time. They always came back and argued, oh, everything's fantastic at Collaborance. Well, it'll never be for sale. And then, of course, they ended up selling the damn thing. And now we got them in a lawsuit. We don't want to talk about that lawsuit. Don't bring that up, because Great America, well, they kind of pay for everything. Fun. Here's another story that's going on right now. Totally ignored. Epson and Fiery coming together. I saw one consultant put out there, Epson buys Fiery. What a fantastic opportunity. That was it. The adjective fantastic opportunity, but absolutely zero content as to why that's a great opportunity. And that's a problem. If you really believe it's a great opportunity, then why the hell don't you share the reasons why it's a great opportunity? Because I don't think it's a great opportunity for anybody. I don't think it's a great opportunity for the OEMs that use Fiery that aren't Epson. I don't think it's a great opportunity for all those dealers that have Fieries connected to all their non-Epson equipment that Epson all of a sudden now knows where it's all at. Do you all think this is a great opportunity for who? Might be a great opportunity for Epson. Visual Edge IT. Let me go on record here to say that in 2025, I do believe that Visual Edge IT will probably end up in some form of bankruptcy. I'm just going to throw that out there. And if the CEO of Visual Edge IT wants to come on the end of the day with Ray and share his thoughts as to why that'll never happen, I'd be more than happy to have him on. This has been a disaster. This financial arrangement that Ares Capital has had with Visual Edge has been an absolute disaster since the day it started. And folks, we can ignore this or we can pay attention to it. Why should we pay attention to it? We should pay attention to it because it's a lesson. And I've talked about the lessons of this, running around, buying a bunch of copier dealers, thinking you're going to be some big nationwide IT services company, not selling IT services right, giving away free assessments, and all these things are not going to help you sustain yourself as a profitable organization. And unfortunately, if you look at the relationship that Ares Capital's having with Visual Edge IT, I'm right. All you got to do is look at their 10Ks and 10Qs. Let me wrap it up with this. Positivity versus negativity. If positivity includes lying, I want no part of it. And a lot of people, I tell you folks, when you discuss something that's upsetting, someone's going to see it as negative. And I'm not going to try to wake up every morning and figure out how I'm going to put a positive spin on something that needs to be discussed just because some folks, mainly old people, are going to get upset because it's negative. Because I'm not going to lie to you. Rising tides lifts all boats. We hear this off and on in the industry. This is a saying actually that came from the most extreme part of the Liberal Party, and it was really about trickle-down economics. So I find it interesting that it's being used in our industry. But anyway, rising tides lift all boats. Let me read this. This annoying analogy most often refers to the market forces affecting your industry. If the market is growing, everyone grows, even those companies with poor execution. And when I read that, it kind of makes sense. When I see the folks that promote this rising tide lifts all boats nonsense. There was a time when our industry was very, very lucrative for everyone. I've said this before, there was enough to go around for everybody. And you could actually, be in the water with these other boats and not even be good, or be dysfunctional and not even get noticed. But as the industry consolidates, as pressure from competition becomes more pressurized, you're going to have to perform, or you're going to be found out, as they say. And I'll add this. Unfortunately, the print industry is far from growing, or as some would say, it is not your granddad's copier dealership anymore. Ladies and gentlemen, 2025 will have some upsetting stories. 2025 will have some consolidation. 2025, I got to tell you, a lot of things are going to change. And that's the reason that all of you should make sure you tune into The End of the Day with Ray. Because everybody watching me knows this. Status quo is the killer of all that'll be invented. Don't get stuck there. And I'll see y'all on Monday.